First of all, congrats on finishing your GCSEs, but now it's about to get a whole lot more difficult. However, with these tips, I believe you can make A-levels a lot more bearable and get the best grades possible. Before we get into it, I want to thank Adobe Creative Cloud for partnering up and making this video possible. More on that later. I have timestamped everything down below if you want to skip to any particular section. My first tip is start from day one. This is pretty self-explanatory, but A-levels are not like GCSEs. They require work from day one. You can't get away with not doing much work in year 10 and then putting in all your effort in year 11. A-levels require 2 years of consistent hard work. Depending on the type of A-levels you do, there's just a lot of content. For me, I take biology, chemistry, and maths, so I take some of the hardest A-levels, and I know I need to keep on top of my work so you don't fall behind. Because if you think about it, during A-levels you have to learn all this information, and then at the end you're tested on absolutely anything that you've learned from those 2 years. So right from day one of learning, you can be tested on that in your final exam at the end of the 2 years. By now, I really hope you figured a revision method that works for you. If not, experiment, look at my channel, talk to your friends who maybe got better grades than you in their GCSEs and figure out what they did differently to you. Or now that you've got your GCSE results, figure out what you could have done differently. Also, when I say experiment, during your A-levels, I mean experiment quickly. Find out what works for you as soon as possible. Obviously, you can, tinker your revision methods throughout the year and add on to stuff that you already had. If you have flashcards, you can work on those more and more. But starting a revision method from day one and working with it consistently and knowing it works for you is the best thing long term. Next thing I want to talk about is friendships and relationships. So this is very personal to me and will be different for each individual person. However, I'm going to talk about my opinion. So I went to a sixth form that wasn't attached to my school, so I went to a whole separate school for my sixth form, or I go to a whole separate school for my sixth form. Although my school was kind of like a filter school, so the previous secondary school I went to before, a lot of people led into that sixth form. This meant I already had some friends who, I knew from my old school, and I didn't have to make too many new friendships. However, I still lost a lot of people, going to college or going to other sixth form. What I can say is that when going to sixth form, it's very easy to actually make friends. This is because it's so easy to, find common ground with people. You're all kind of in the same boat. You're doing A-levels for 2 years, you all take pretty difficult subjects. If that all fails, you can always just complain about teachers. That's a very easy way to make friends, in my opinion. I think what you should do is just really start to talk to the people in your class. You'll have loads of new students, so just talk to them, and from there you can be, introduced to previous friend groups if people are coming up from the same school together. I think friendships are quite simple to make in sixth forms. Also, your friendships will probably change a bit depending on what, your previous friends are prioritizing. That doesn't mean you're gonna lose friends. It just means you'll probably hang out with them less and you might see them a bit less. However, that's just kind of happens in life anyway. I mean, realistically, these friends, you would have only seen them for another 2 years. I'm gonna quickly touch upon relationships. So relationships, again, is something so individualistic. It, affects people differently. I think relationships can be a distraction from the main goal of sixth form, which for me is, going to a good uni. For other people might be getting a good apprenticeship. Sixth form is already stressful enough, and by adding another person to that, it can really hinder your progress. But again, this is just my opinion. I know people in sixth form who have successful relationships and do still manage to do their best. Again, this is my opinion, so please take it with a grain of salt. Hobbies. So please have some hobbies other than doing your schoolwork. I know it's really easy to get lost in it, but just constantly doing schoolwork, you'll burn out very quickly and your mental health will decline. Me personally, I love fashion and clothes, which leads perfectly into the sponsor of this video, Adobe Creative Cloud. I love using Photoshop to design my outfits. I know it sounds kind of weird, but using Photoshop, I can digitize my clothing in my wardrobe and put together outfits without even having to try them on. Come on, let me show you how it works. I love kind of playing around with new outfit ideas, and Photoshop has allowed me to do that even more efficiently. So when I get new pieces or I'm thinking of getting new clothes, I can always just go in here, pop the image with some of the items I already have and try and style it before I even have the item of clothing. When you're in sixth form, you're not wearing school uniform everywhere, you have to actually change your clothes. It makes it far easier and saves me a lot of time in the long term. And for example, if I get something new in, like this jacket, then I can just go ahead and use Photoshop's easy quick selection tool to just go ahead and remove the background. Using the blending options right up here, I can add a little bit of flair, add a little bit of pop by putting on the outer stroke and then adding a drop shadow. I think these style boards are super helpful. With Photoshop's layer system, it's super simple to just go like this and then grab what I want to add in and slot that into the style board. So now I can see what some of my outfits are roughly gonna look like before I even have to try them on. Fashion might not be your thing, but with over 20 applications in the Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, I'm sure there'll be something super useful, making logos or posters using Illustrator, editing home videos using Premiere Pro, trying your hand at a bit of animation with maybe After Effects, or just, you know, doing a bit of casual editing using Lightroom. There's something for everyone. Adobe Creative Cloud can really help you hone in your passion. If you are a student or teacher, you can get 65% off for 12 months. So scan the QR code right there or check the link in the description to find more information about the Creative Cloud. Let's get straight into the next tip, which is work experience. Get your work experience as soon as possible. If you're planning to do something STEM related at college, start looking for work experience as soon as you can. For me, my school offers a week where, you know, you don't go to school, but you do your work experience. So you need to find your work experience beforehand. It can be very competitive, especially if everyone in your year group is looking for kind of similar work experience. So if you want to do something like biology or natural sciences at university, then look for local laboratories in your area, start phoning them up, just start cold calling, start cold emailing. Some people are bound to reply, and you can find some, you know, it's all well and good having the mandated work experience that your school offers, but it's also better if you have your own work experience. This also applies to things like wider reading. Start reading more around your subject and start writing what you learn down. The more you do this throughout the year, the easier it will be to write your personal statement and talk about things you've learned and why you're even passionate about the subject. You know, I myself managed to find some work experience in a brewery. It was a very unlikely place, but there's a lot of chemistry and biology that happens in a brewery, and it'll be great to talk about that on my personal statement. Now I want to talk about a free period. I know every single person says this when you ask them about free periods, but use them wisely. There's a reason you get free periods at A-levels. It's because there's a lot of content in all the subjects you do, and you need extra time to do well. Going home and just doing revision after school isn't enough for A-levels. You need to use your free periods wisely. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to, you know, waste a free period every now and then, you know, maybe do work with your friends, but getting work done in your free periods is absolutely vital, trust me. What I like to do with some of my friends is do work for like half an hour, then take a 5-minute break to like chat or play cards, then do work, then chat. And doing this meant that, you know, we're getting work done and we're having fun at the same time. I don't know how free periods work in your school, but in my school our free periods are like 2 to 3 hours long, so wasting them is not a very good option. I also prefer to kind of stay in school depending on what I'm doing for my free periods, because when you're in school you're more likely to, you know, do work and not just faff about. But at home there's so many more distractions than in school. But again, this just depends on the type of school you have. My school had some amazing, beautiful study areas that you could work in, while, you know, other schools it might be a bit more difficult. So my final recommendation is use free periods wisely. Try to stay in school as you're less likely to get distracted, and, you know, work with friends, but work with friends who are also gonna want to do work. My next tip is about universities, and that is start your uni research as soon as possible. There are actually so many courses for things you want to do, and it's not like education is now. For biology, there's about like 50 different courses just for biology alone. You can do, you know, biology with chemistry, pharmacology, you can do biology with a gap year, you can do, there's just way too many options. And if you're leaving it until the last second, it can be very hard to narrow down what you actually want to do at university. So start looking for university courses straight on, and that kind of just brushes over the tip of don't leave things to the last minute, because a lot of work at sixth form requires, you know, multiple like revisions over it. Just like with uni research, you're not going to find what you want to do in one day, just like you're not going to get your personal statement done in one day. So don't leave things until the last moment. Just like with revision, I don't know how it works in your school, but for our predicted grade is based off of kind of all the tests we've done, with the last test being more important. So at the end of the year, your mocks, you really want to revise for those, as those have the most weight for your predicted grade. However, throughout the year you'll have some other little tests that will appear on your grade sheets, and those will will still count towards you know, what your predicted grade is, and you need good predicted grades because those are the ones you're going to be using to apply for uni. So really don't leave things to the last minute. Start revising as soon as possible. Start looking at unis and what courses you want to do as soon as possible, because 2 years really flies by. I tell you, the first year of sixth form flew by, in my opinion. I can't believe it's almost September already. It's literally been a year since I entered sixth form, and the second year is even shorter because, you know, my exams are May, June, July time. Don't leave things to the last minute because it will catch up on you very quickly. The final tip is organization. Now, I've already made a video about the iPad Pro and why it's absolutely amazing for A levels. However, not everyone can afford that. But if you can, I urge you to get an iPad Pro. They're absolutely amazing for organization. They've saved my back a lot because, well, I don't have to carry around a massive leverage file. I swear, in my bag, I keep about 3 things. I keep my iPad, my Apple Pencil, a textbook for, you know, the lesson I have that day, and that's pretty much it because I buy lunch in school anyway. If you don't have an iPad, I would say get like 3 or 4 leverage files depending on the amount of subjects that you do, and then get loads of subdividers. Organize your notes, your worksheets, your end of topic tests, your mark schemes, your practice papers into that massive folder, and also separate the teacher's work. So for A levels, you'll probably have 2 teachers. I'll recommend splitting your folders between those 2 teachers. And then when you're in school, use something called a day folder. Day folder is basically a folder where you can keep the chapter that you're working on in school in that folder, because you often have to revisit content from that chapter. Then once you're done with that chapter, sort your day folder's notes into your leverage file. This is a system a lot of my friends use who don't have, you know, digital notes, and they say it works really well. But if you can, an iPad is wonderful. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know I haven't been uploading as regularly as possible, but I hope to get back to some regularly scheduled content. Again, don't forget to click the QR code or check the link in the description to help further explore your passion using the Adobe Creative Cloud. Don't forget to subscribe and have a productive week.